July 20th, 1969, the Apollo 11 lunar module, the Eagle, sat on the surface of the moon. Inside were Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, but there was a problem they didn't know about yet. When Armstrong had geared up to exit the lander, his heavy backpack accidentally struck a crucial breaker, the ascent engine arming switch. Without that switch, the engine wouldn't fire, and they would be stranded on the moon forever. Unaware of the danger, Armstrong stepped out and delivered one of history's most famous lines: "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." But did it actually happen? Even 50 years later, conspiracy theories claimed the moon landing was a hoax, filmed on a soundstage. They ask about the waving flag or the lack of stars. So let's get to the truth. The real driver behind Apollo 11 was the Cold War. In the late 50s and early 60s, the Soviet Union was winning the space race, launching the first satellite, Sputnik, and sending the first man, Yuri Gagarin, into space. America was falling behind. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy made a bold promise to land a man on the moon and return him safely before the decade was out. It seemed impossible. Computers back then had less processing power than a modern calculator, but with billions in funding and 400,000 people working on the project, NASA got to work. After years of testing and the tragic loss of the Apollo 1 crew in a fire, they were finally ready. On July 16, 1969, a massive Saturn V rocket launched from Florida. On board were Commander Neil Armstrong, Lunar Module pilot Buzz Aldrin, and Command Module pilot Michael Collins. Collins often gets overlooked, but his job was vital. He had to stay in orbit aboard the Command Module, Columbia, while the others went down to the surface. If they couldn't get back up, he'd have to return to Earth alone. The descent to the moon was white-knuckle territory. The onboard computer started flashing 1201 and 1202 alarms, meaning it was overloaded. Mission Control gave the go anyway. Then Armstrong realized the autopilot was aiming for a boulder field. He took manual control, skimming over the surface as their fuel ran critically low. With less than 30 seconds of fuel left, Armstrong finally radioed, "The Eagle has landed." Over 600 million people watched on TV as Armstrong and Aldrin explored the lunar surface. They collected rocks, set up seismic experiments, and planted the American flag. Speaking of the flag, why did it look like it was flapping in a vacuum? Simple. It had a horizontal rod along the top to hold it open. The astronauts struggled to extend the rod fully, leaving ripples in the fabric. It wasn't waving in the wind, it was just stuck that way. And the stars? The landing happened in broad daylight on the moon. The surface was bright, and the cameras were set for a fast shutter speed, washing out the faint stars in the background. After 21 hours on the moon, it was time to leave. That's when Aldrin discovered the broken circuit breaker on the floor. Mission Control scrambled for a fix, but Aldrin improvised. He used a felt-tip pen to push the mechanism in and complete the circuit. It worked. The engine fired and they rendezvoused with Collins in orbit. They returned to Earth safely, splashing down in the Pacific Ocean. It was a massive victory for the US, fulfilling JFK's promise just in time. Critics back then argued the money could have been better spent on education or solving poverty, but the program sparked a tech boom, driving down the cost of integrated circuits and paving the way for the modern computer era. Today, NASA is looking to go back with the Artemis program. They plan to send the first woman and the first person of color to the lunar surface, establishing a long-term presence. We're finally ready to take that next giant leap. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, check out the playlist for more deep dives into space history. See you in the next one.